Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the 3 Under Par podcast. This is a golf podcast where little white ball is life. I'm your host, Scotty T, and we got a really good special episode coming your way today. Hope everybody's having a great Memorial Day weekend. For this episode, we were joined by Dougie Barnard. He's a YouTube golfer. We've had some YouTube golfers on in the past with the Bogey Brothers, and now we have Dougie coming on as a guest, and this is a really different and unique episode for us, and we've had some great guests here in the past month or so. If you go back and listen to our episode with Webb Simpson's caddy Paul Tesori, that's a phenomenal one. We had PGA Tour player, our first PGA Tour player, Chris Stroud, on the podcast, and then we had the host of Golf Curious, Lisa Marie. So go check out those episodes wherever you find your podcasts or on YouTube as well. And for Dougie, though, YouTube golf is a different space. YouTube is a new platform that we are on 3 Under Par. And then he talks about just creating golf content. In the past have been more interviews. I would say this is definitely more of a conversation. It's the first time that I've talked with Dougie, and we had a blast. Really, we talked for about an hour, just under an hour, and just about the direction of golf content, what works, what doesn't work, what people like, don't like, or what direction we think it's going to go in on the future, not only for YouTube golf, but then podcast golf as well. It's a really fascinating conversation, and especially for those, if you're interested in maybe potentially taking that step to creating some good golf content. So we hope you enjoy this episode. Before we dive into it, follow us on social media at 3 on Par Pod. That is the number 3 on Par Pod on Twitter and Instagram. If you're watching here on YouTube, glad you're here. One of our goals at 3 Under Par is to create more YouTube videos of us either playing golf, trick shots, anything in between. If you got some ideas, leave that in the comment section below. Comment below also on what you think of this interview, and give this video a like. We're just starting off on our YouTube channel, so we want to get some momentum and to hopefully bring you some more good golf content. Also, go check out Dougie's channel. Dougie is a phenomenal YouTube golfer. The goal for any person starting off is to get to that 1,000 subscribers. He's halfway there, so I would encourage you to go check out his channel, click that subscribe button, because he is very creative and very good at creating good golf content for viewers out there. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or where you find your podcast, go ahead and click that subscribe button as well. Leave a 5-star review, and then write a review on what you think about the show, what you like about the show. Just a few minutes, because we love our listenership. We're slowly growing. We've been doing this podcast for about a year and a half now, and we're starting to gain some momentum. I really, truly believe that and feel that, and we're going to keep bringing it every single time for you, the audience. So we hope that the show continue to grow. One of the ways that we can do this, though, is traditional, just word of mouth. Tell a friend about 3 Under Par, about the podcast, about our YouTube channel, because we appreciate you. We really do. And we love hearing from you. That's why we encourage you to reach out to us on social media, because one of our segments we like to do on the podcast is Outside the Ropes, where we take your questions, your scenarios, play it through, and then also we're always looking to get better. So we can't thank you enough. We appreciate you. Hope you enjoy this interview with Dougie. It's a blast, and remember, little white ball is life. Okay, we are joined now by a very special guest, Dougie Barnard, YouTube golfer extraordinaire. Dougie, thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, appreciate you inviting me out. Always happy to join here, and just an overcast day here in Atlanta, so would love for nothing more than just to sit down and talk about golf.
Absolutely. You know, we say here that little white ball is life. So we are anybody who just we just love talking golf. And there's a lot going on with the whole coronavirus situation that's going on, and just even on our personal golf stories as well. There's always, even with the sports world stuff, there's always golf to talk about, which is pretty fun.
Always. I mean, they can't stop golf.
Exactly. Well, Dougie, for our audience here, well, first off, YouTube golfers. So we're a little bit newer into the YouTube game. How long have you been in the YouTube golf game, and what exactly is golf on YouTube look like?
Yeah, so I started my YouTube golf channel in July of last year. So, I mean, coming up this summer on 1 year, before the golf channel, I had a fitness account. So I
Mhm.
was on golf, I was on YouTube a little bit learning the ropes, and then decided to shift away from lifting weights and doing a bunch of bicep curls into hitting the little white ball. So now I'm kind of, but at
Right.
least I had some background skills that I kind of knew the platform and could leverage a little bit of the basics. It made it easier to go into the golf space, having that background on YouTube. And then as far as what it looks like, I mean, I kind of just see content when I'm on the course. I just see content. I'm thinking about video ideas, and I'm pretty much always recording. I mean, sometimes I'll just, it's not suitable to be recording while I'm out there, but it's pretty much, I mean, I kind of tend close to the belief that I'm always keeping the camera rolling in case someone holes out. Like I want to have that on footage if someone holes out. And that's kind
Definitely.
of served me pretty well, just to be able to catch a bunch of awesome moments on camera.
No doubt. Yeah, like I mentioned, we're a little bit newer in the YouTube game. We've been doing our podcast for about a year and a half now, and just started recording the podcast and wanted to put them up on YouTube. And then I'm finding out about this entire golf community that's on
Oh yeah.
YouTube. It's a pretty fun, really interactive. It seems like everybody's also really supportive of each other, and I think that is just fantastic as well. So even kind of going back there, Dougie, what sparked your passion for golf? Because I see, at least on your profile, you played some college tennis. So how does a tennis player
Yes.
get into golf?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, I loved golf and tennis at like an early age. Went to the driving range, my dad, and just like loved golf right away. Grew up in the Midwest, and so that kind of limits your golf season just from the get-go, being from Indiana. But yeah, whenever the summertime came around, I was always trying to get out to the golf course. But tennis was kind of my sport. So once I specialized in tennis, I kind of dropped the other sports. Never played competitive golf. I played like other sports growing up, junior league sports, but golf was just always something that I wanted to do the first chance that I had, like free time, period. But being such a regimented, growing up, like competing in athletics, I was always like, my schedule was always maxed out with tennis tournaments, tennis training, school, obviously, and all that stuff. And so I
Right.
didn't have a ton of time for golf growing up. And then playing tennis through high school and college, it was like golf was whatever I could squeeze out a little bit of free time. I'd go
Hmm.
out and play. And then post, playing college tennis and then going to law school, which took so much time.
Oh,
Post that, it was like all of a sudden now I have a bunch of time. What do I want to channel my competitiveness into? So I did bodybuilding. I did that, recorded it for YouTube a little bit, and then decided, wait a second, I've loved golf my whole life, but I haven't really given it a chance. I haven't had time. Now, why don't we go ahead and just go full into this golf space, full into golf social media, YouTube, Instagram, etc. And now I've just been having a blast with it.
that's fantastic. Some of the I always like getting people's stories on that, because somebody like myself, I grew up playing the game. It's just something that I've always known. Played
Yeah.
junior golf and dabbled a little bit in college as much as I could,
Oh,
until
that's
my
awesome.
limits. I reached my ceiling, but trying to get into the amateur game a little bit here and there. But I just love hearing people's stories, and I think it's really interesting what you said about the competitiveness of it, because not only are you competing against your playing competitors, but more importantly, you're playing against yourself in the golf course. And I feel like kind of
Right.
the older that I get, the more I realize that. Because when you're playing junior golf in tournaments, you're just like, yeah, like I want to beat that guy. Like that guy's my rival. But uh, I don't know. It's always fun trying to get out there and shoot your low round, or maybe get a course that you feel like you haven't really been able to get before. You know, I
Yeah.
think
I
it's
mean, for
interesting.
me, it's just been interesting to see growing up. Like, I've always loved golf, even though I didn't really play it that much. I've always loved it. But what's interesting is that, at least from my perspective now, I mean, all of my friends from high school that I didn't even know played golf are now golf obsessed. Like, I don't know if golf is just having this resurgence, and like for some reason now it's like mainstream popular, just the thing to do. I mean, it's always been like kind of seen as a good place to go and network and do business, or it's good to know how to golf. But now, at least among my friend groups from high school, I mean, like I'm planning golf trips with people that I didn't really like know that they played golf. And then now that I'm putting out a bunch of golf on social media, like everyone knows, like, oh, I'm golf obsessed, but my friends are just equally golf obsessed. They're just not posting pictures and videos of it every day.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you're putting yourself out there, going for it, and I think
Right.
that's really fantastic and also motivating for maybe some of your buddies. I know it does for some of ours. They're like, man, like, all right, you can get out there, you can play no matter what. I mean, because we just want to make golf fun at the end of the day. Like, even
Yeah.
if you check our Instagram stories or whatnot, generally you'll hear music blasting in the background, or
Right.
we're having a few cocktails out there on the course too. We just want to make golf fun for everybody.
Yeah. No, I think now, like, there's a lot of good golf content out there too. So it's
Definitely.
fun to go out and play. But now, with different type of platforms, like, the Barstool foreplay guys, golf has kind of just had this sense of like becoming cool, I guess, in some ways. And so, yeah, just a more relaxed type of vibe is, I think it's attractive to a lot of people.
I think, did I see that your tweet got retweeted by the foreplay account?
Yeah, that's right.
How was that?
I was pumped, man. It was crazy. Like, so Twitter, I haven't really been active on Twitter for a while. I kind of just focused. It's tough to kind of be going all in on all the different platforms. You kind of have to pick your poison a little bit because
Right.
it's just such a commitment. So I've kind of just picked Instagram and YouTube, and then I've had a Twitter account, but I'm just recently starting to like get a little bit more active. So yeah, it was just I posted something, tagged them, and then checked it later, and it was like 10,000 views, and I was like, oh, they must have like retweeted it.
That's
So
so cool.
I kind of knew that it was going to do well because I just watched one of their YouTube videos, and I had this perfect video that was like a direct shot at something that had happened in their videos of one of the guys of their crew. So I
Mhm.
kind of knew like this is the type of thing that might get, like, the timeliness of it was really the reason that it got retweeted. But yeah, those guys are crazy. Those guys are living life, just making golf content, traveling, talking about golf as their full-time jobs with the backing of Barstool. Like, that's crazy.
It really is. And to your point, they've been really able to shine light on golf personalities, especially on the PGA Tour.
Yeah.
Like a Kevin Kisner, he might be one of the most beloved golfers, at least in the social media realm, it seems like. And he already was, but we didn't really know that because we didn't really know Kevin Kisner. So I love what they're doing. They show that these golfers like Kiz, Matthew Fitzpatrick, and all those guys, they have personalities too and are actually probably more down to earth guys than I feel like other professional athletes are.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't really think about that, but I guess the foreplay guys are kind of serving as a bridge between the professionals and the amateurs, and showing that these professionals are in many ways not very different from most of us that play golf in terms of the smack talking and things like that.
Right.
They have a lot of personality, but they play as a profession, and so they're used to the cameras on them, the TVs, the no swearing, etc. But yet, you get guys like Max Homa, and it's like, okay, these guys have a lot of personality. They just haven't had an outlet for it. So foreplay, and obviously with the Barstool brand, just kind of has pumped those guys into kind of like social media stardom in some ways in the golf world.
Right.
But yeah, it's been fun to kind of watch those guys serve as kind of the middlemen between amateurs and then some of those pros that have a lot of personality, but they just haven't really had amateurs that they can kind of use as an outlet.
Definitely. And even picking back off that even more, that's what's so great about social media platforms in general.
Right.
You don't have to be the controlled cable news where you got to be or abide by FCC guidelines. You can go on a podcast. You can go on, whether it be our podcast, Foreplay, or No Laying Up, so many different platforms, or go on YouTube. And one thing I find really fascinating about YouTube golf, at least, is the spectrum of players. There are people that are, some friends of ours who've been on the podcast, the Bogey Brothers, they are more on the beginner side, but then you got someone
Yeah.
like yourself who's a little bit more experienced on golf, but it all comes together. It's like one big happy family, it seems like, for lack of a better
Yeah,
term.
it is. I mean, that's very true. I mean, everyone has different value that they bring in their videos. So Bogey Brothers, like, super entertaining, and they're getting started in golf, and they're not bad for getting started, but it's tough to
Yeah.
compare them to people that grew up playing. And then you range to the Zach Radfords of the world, the Andrew Jensens. these guys are borderline like competing in professional tournaments, or in Andrew's case, actually competing in professional tournaments and also making YouTube content. So it's kind of cool just to see that whole range on the spectrum, and you can kind of go and watch different channels based on kind of what you're looking for. If you want to see really good golf, you want to see really good entertainment, some kind of have a little bit of both. So it's pretty cool.
Definitely. So, Dougie, I commented on one of your videos recently, and I thought it was really fascinating. It looked like it was just you on the couch, kind of like you are now, and you're talking about chasing scratch. And
Yeah.
I kind of want to flesh that idea out a little bit more, because I thought it was really interesting. It's almost like a pattern that I've seen, whether it be on Twitter or on YouTube, that people are trying to get the scratch. It's like the holy grail, or
it is.
I don't even know. It's like the pot at the end of the rainbow where people really go after it. What is it about? Because, I mean, I guess humble brag, I'm a +1, so I'm a little bit better than a scratch player. And so what is it about scratch that gets you motivated to keep going out to the course?
I think for those of us that are not scratch, which is, I'd say most every golfer out there is probably not scratch. There's such a small percentage of golfers that are consistently scratch. But I think it's just golf is such a hard sport, and handicap is our measure of tracking something so that we can have a base level, we can make bets on the course and have fair bets no matter who you're playing against based on this handicap system. That I think scratch is just sort of like, golf always just beats us down out there, making bogeys, making double bogeys, doing all this stuff. And it's like, as you play more, you want to get better, your handicap lowers. It's like, well, scratch is like that's like, as you said, that's like making it as an amateur. I feel like, if I can get to be scratch, I mean, wow. Like, just in casual conversations with friends, with whatever, if you're like, oh, that guy's a stick, like he's scratch. Like you say that about like someone who's scratch, in terms of just like being an impressive, golfer and being able to consistently like shoot par. Like that's such a hard thing to do, that I think for those of us that are, amateurs, but we also care about like our score and trying to get better, that's what you're working towards. I feel like that's kind of that's the even point, that's when your handicap goes from a positive number, I guess, well, to having a plus. So that's like, you know what I mean? Like
the plus thing is a little
weird.
Confusing. Yeah, it sure is. But it's always funny to me, because whenever it's like, oh, you're a scratch player, but yeah, you know what? There's some days where I don't have it, and I'm probably hovering around 80. Like, I guess it's more of an average thing, and depending on. Also, we play a lot of games out there on the course, so it's, at least for us, it's hard to post scores sometimes. Even this last weekend, we were playing a 4-team versus a different 4-team on back-to-back tee times, but we were doing a shamble. So it's like,
so yeah, you don't have your own score, right?
Exactly. Even though I know we probably took a decent amount of my shots and some other guys contributed with some birdies, it's kind of hard sometimes to get what exactly you're shooting, or scoring. What's the right term there? I don't know. Yeah, golf's weird like that. But yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was really interesting. So you were saying short game, or what's that next hurdle for you think?
I mean,
you're about a 4 or 5 right now, right?
Yeah, I'm about a 4 or 5, and similar to you, it's tough in terms of like reporting every score, because some rounds, I might be doing a challenge, or I'm using one club or something, and I don't have like, an actual score to post because I'm coming from the content side of it. But I guess I was just thinking about it. Playing with a lot of scratch players is just, you see from, 100 yards and in, 50 yards and in, green side and in, that they're just not making mistakes. I mean, like, they're getting really upset if they're not getting up and down. And that to me is just like very, very interesting to see that level of consistency, where it's like, okay, they're green side in a bunker and they hit it to 8 feet and they're mad. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, it's just another level of just like predictability, knowing where the ball's going, giving putts runs, like actually running the putts past the hole, burning edges, not really hitting putts where, leaving things short or running it 5-6 feet by. It's just that next level of consistency, where it's just, as an amateur, who at times, has streaks around playing well, and other times like struggling with speed on the greens and stuff, seeing guys that make the game look so easy and do that, around the short game. For me, that's where I was impressed the most. It's not in necessarily hitting the driver. It's not necessarily in the irons per se. Scratch guys aren't always hitting darts and, having close birdie putts. They struggle too sometimes, missing greens, missing fairways, etc. But it's the short game that holds their score close to par, where the amateurs, that's where it kind of falls. So for me, that's kind of what I was thinking about. I'm going to try to move from a 4 handicap to a scratch. Like I have to increase my percentage of getting up and down. That's where like the butter is made.
Right. And to that, and I think I contribute, I think a lot of it does have to do with course management. Because there are a lot of days, especially since I've started working and been adulting, if you will, it's a little bit harder to keep the game sharp, especially around the greens. So course management, I think, is a big one. Whether it be something as simple as teeing off on the right or left side of a tee box, maybe you have a little bit better angle to the fairway, or really a big thing to the short game is not short-siding yourself. Like if there's a pin to the right that's 5 feet off the green, you don't want to miss right. You want to miss left, so that why give yourself an impossible flop shot when you can just hit a good, easy bump and run if you're on the – so it's all about where your misses are, because I say golf is a game of misses.
Yeah.
So I just think
that's really true. I think that's true too. Yeah, I think course management, I think there's a lot of factors there. But, it's just as an amateur, it's fun to play with guys who are shooting par. Like it kind of elevates your level. If you're playing with other guys who are a little bit better than you, or you have a chance to play with someone who's scratch, just to kind of witness kind of how they're thinking through things, like you're saying, the decisions that they're making, playing away from hazards, just those small little things add up. And then you get to the end of the round and you're paying out the money. It's like there's a reason why this guy's scratch. I mean, he's getting money every weekend.
Right, when you're getting cleaned out every week. That will motivate you to get a little better.
Exactly.
Man, so you've been on YouTube now for about a year and a half, you mentioned?
So the golf YouTube was about a year. It's coming up on a year in July would be for the golf YouTube.
All right. And I would say I do love your channel. I love the spectrum of your channel, because whether it be like a golf highlights, or if you just like the video we were just referring to, just sharing your thoughts, I think that's all great. What direction do you think golf on YouTube, social media is going to go in the next probably year, 2 years?
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed just in the 10 months that I've had a golf YouTube channel, it seems that more people are entering the space. There's not a ton of barriers for entry. Similar to, podcasts per se, you can use your phone, and just turn on the camera while you're on the course.
Right.
And then later, chop it up into, use iMovie on your phone for free and then upload it to YouTube. So there's not a ton of barriers for entry. And I think more people are trying to get into the space, which is really cool to see. And then, once you have a channel up and running, it's kind of a matter of just finding your own style, and it's endless. I mean, the creation process on YouTube, there's so many different ways that you can customize your videos, make it different, make it stand out, using Shot Tracer, the format, the editing, the music. Like, it's such a kind of creative process that it doesn't really kind of get old. You're always trying to change your content, evolve your content, and then kind of find like your channel's voice. And I think there's a lot of bigger YouTube channels that are just pumping out, they're kind of content factories. Someone's in a simulator, maybe they're a teaching pro, and they just have access to a bunch of new clubs, equipment. And, that's great because, a lot of the general public cares about the new equipment, how it performs, the stats and the numbers. But for many of us average Joes out here that aren't working in the golf industry, we don't have access to that. So our content won't be the newest club reviews and things like that. It'll just be more of, hanging out with the guys, going out to play and bringing the camera along. So I think that's kind of where a lot of golf YouTube content right now is just course vlogs, playing with people, and it's a very supportive community.
Right. It is. And as I mentioned about the community, I'm finding out a little bit more. It's very encouraging, very welcoming as well, because I think that's kind of the golf mentality in general, is even if you're playing, and whether it be amateur golf now for us or junior golf growing up, even the professionals, you see a lot of them are friends. They travel together. They hang out together. Do you want the best for them? But also that kind of drives you a little bit to be like, hey, that guy's doing really well. That motivates me to do better. The competition factor a little bit. I think that's great.
No, yeah, I think it's friendly, competitive in the sense of, I've had a chance to collab with the Bogey brothers,
Hmm.
and it's friendly, but you're also trying to beat them when you're out there playing. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
so like it's definitely friendly, and a lot of us kind of talk kind of regularly
Hmm.
and watch each other's videos, and it kind of feels like for some of us that haven't been able to play in person with each other, by watching each other's content, you feel like you're there in the round. You feel like you're there watching, right? So it
Hmm.
was cool for me to kind of go out and meet those guys. And then recently, there's two other YouTubers here in Atlanta, Greg Cortman Golf and Chili Dippa Golf, that I went and met up with. And when you see these guys, you feel like you know them. I think that's just the cool thing about social media is
Hmm.
by following their content, you feel like you kind of know them before you actually get the chance to meet and tee it up and stuff. So it's a very, yeah, like you said, it's a very friendly space. And I'm actually planning an event at the end of October called the Creators Cup, where I'm inviting different content creators, some YouTubers, some Instagram people, just to meet up in Alabama. I got a couple houses booked for a weekend just to play and record content, because I'm trying to make the space even smaller. It was tough for
Hmm.
me to get out to California, play with the Bogey brothers, and it's tough to do that on an individual basis with creators. But if there's a weekend that I could dedicate and say, hey, anybody who's trying to create a lot of content, collaborate, let's just pick a weekend in Alabama and play a bunch of golf at the Robert Trent Jones Trail, and see who wants to come out for it.
Oh, I've heard nothing but great things about Robert Trent Jones Trail.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
I've never played in Alabama. Now that I'm thinking about it, I've played a
really.
little college event in Mississippi.
Okay,
Um, yeah, just for like a little bit of my journey, I guess. Started off playing college golf, but then played club golf, and I loved
nice.
club golf in college. That was a blast. Was able to still travel a little bit, get itch the competitive scratch a little bit.
Was
So
that the same school, or did you change schools?
yeah, it was the same school. It was at Baylor. So
Nice,
that's where I went.
nice.
Here in Texas, at least, it's a little bit easier to get because we're like right in the middle. It's easy to get to one side of the coast and also the other. Going from Atlanta to LA, that's a beast of a trip.
Yeah, it was a cross country flight, a
Wow.
weekend. I had like a 4-day weekend. I wanted to go out to California. So kind of just planned to go out there and then try to reach out to people on social media. I mean, there was
Hmm.
someone at TaylorMade that I was trying to link up with. And, the guy was like, oh, this might work, but actually I'm going in to shoot, Jason Day and Rory. So that's not going to work. But I was like, okay,
Yeah,
I can't
soft
believe I
flex.
can't believe you stood me up. I mean,
Right.
gosh, you didn't want to come out and meet me to play 9 holes at a Muni course.
Come on.
Like, but that's a really cool stretch of the golf space between San Diego and LA. You got that whole area, Carlsbad, you got
Hmm.
Callaway, TaylorMade, and then just even on Instagram. I mean, so many people that you might, are just household names. That's where they're based. That, they have a company out there. They're working with one of the big golf companies. Between that little, 2-hour drive, there's just so much golf to kind of soak in that I felt like going for a 3-4 day weekend was great. But like,
Almost not enough, right?
almost had a chance to tee it up with Patrick Koenig, and like didn't work out because scheduling. So I kind of feel like I would need to go back there again, plan it out more intentionally, further out in advance, to try to like hit up as many people as you could, because that's just a loaded part of the country golf wise.
Right. So you mentioned a couple of channels earlier as well, at least in the Atlanta area. What are some of your other
Yeah,
favorite channels that you like to check out on a
man.
regular basis?
I mean, there's just so many. I think lately I've been watching more of the small YouTube community space.
Hmm.
So, Dave 4-4 Golf, Frederick, A Golfer's Walk. There's this hilarious guy, the Harry Golfer,
Yeah,
over in the
he's a trip.
UK. Total trip, man.
Yeah, he's a trip. Oh my
Guy's
goodness.
a total trip, man. He just sits back, pours a drink and just starts ranting in his backyard about the lockdown, and just like super interesting stuff.
Oh man,
So
that's
no, I mean it's a pretty like loaded space, and it's tough because as there are more creators, you can't have time to watch everything. So
mhm.
I try to stay up to date as much as I can. I mentioned earlier, I enjoy watching Zach Radford, Andrew Jensen, GM Golf. Those guys are just awesome entertainment. But it's tough, to be watching all that content. So you kind of have to just pick and choose kind of who you're going to be, watching and backing and kind of flip through the videos. And I think that's kind of a cool thing about YouTube is just from the creator side, I'm trying to put out videos that people would want to click on and watch. And then also from the consumer side of just watching YouTube, I'm clicking on videos that kind of catch my attention, something that looks controversial, right, interesting, something happened in a match or whatever. Then I'm clicking on that video versus the other 5 that are in my watch later, playlist that I might not get to this week. So it's kind of a matter of like, it just goes back to putting out interesting type of content, how you do your thumbnail, all that stuff kind of does matter.
Right. It sure does. And I wish we had started this YouTube channel about a year ago because, to tell a quick story, I do the podcast with 2 other people, hence 3 under par, and also 3 under par 69. So we generally, and one of our guys, Kyle, he broke his ankle, but he was still playing golf in a hard cast and an ankle. Well, when his ankle was broken, and he was still shooting like 75, 76. Like it was wild. Yeah, playing.
That's
we
insane.
Didn't make him play all the way back with us. We made him play 1 tee up on the white tees at least. So, and he goes out and plays Thomas, our other co-host, and Thomas lost, so he had to play golf in a dress round. We call it the dress round. He had to play a full round of golf in a dress, and on the golf course. And sure enough, he did. He played a full round of golf in a dress. It was phenomenal. And he shot 71. It was wild.
I mean, did you get reactions out there on the course?
A little bit. The course was a little empty because there was a threat of rain.
Okay.
So it scared some people away that day. But, yeah, we were just like, what is going on?
Absolutely absurd.
Yeah, so maybe it sounds like we need to do another dress round. Throw it up on YouTube.
I mean, I think, something like that on YouTube would be hilarious. I mean, usually people are betting in the videos that I watch, people are betting like 5-10 push-ups. Like, that's kind of a standard type of bet. But like something like that, like public humiliation, now you're talking about pretty good YouTube content. So you might need to branch out the YouTube content a little bit.
For sure. Yeah, that's kind of the plan, at least for us, at least with my regular job. Unfortunately, been on furlough, hopefully going back. So at least that's one of our goals, is to put out more YouTube content as well as our podcast. I think we kind of like we like filming it and just throwing it up there just to help spread the word. But so that's at least affecting us. Have you seen a big change with the coronavirus going on in your part of the country in Atlanta?
I mean, golf is kind of actually, if anything, it's busier now than it would be typically.
Oh, I could not agree more.
Is that the same for you in Houston?
Yes. One of my buddies, who's a mini tour player, he can't play right now. He can't travel. He had a status up in Canada, but the Canadian tour, they said, the border's closed right now, at least at the time of this recording. So he's working in the pro shop, and he was saying they've had like 200 something rounds a day, which is just off the charts. That's booked from like 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. every single day.
I mean, it's wild. Like, it's kind of crazy because I expected when this whole thing started that golf courses would be a little bit slower. They're getting hit. There's all these regulations about, I played a course this weekend with the cups totally raised on like the full 18-hole course. Mm-hmm. So you'd think that that would stop some people from wanting to go out and pay $70 to play. You're not even putting the ball in a hole. But no, sure enough. I mean, like, it is absolutely decked, packed. And I think, just because so many other things are closed, like golf is one of the few things outdoors you can go and do. And so even people that aren't really golfers, people that like wouldn't be playing golf otherwise, now that everyone's playing, the courses are just smashing it here. And I mean, some of them have shut down or were shut down temporarily as they figured out what to do with the coronavirus and how to make it safe for everyone playing. Mm-hmm. But now I think all courses are up and running and just absolutely decked. And so it's kind of tough here. Like if I'm looking and, trying to figure out when I can play based on my schedule, a lot of times it might be last minute for me. Like, I can go out and play 9 at night or something, but you're out of luck. I mean, like, you go on Golf Now and it's like, okay, maybe there's some par 3 course that's 35 miles away. It's pretty shaggy. And like, that's kind of your only option. So, I'll go and hit balls at the range or something, but like in the weekend tee times, you got to plan like a weekend ahead, especially if you're going morning. If you want like a morning tee time on a weekend, I mean, like, it is just like, you're getting like 4 o'clock is the first tee time at a lot of good courses around here on Saturday and Sunday. So yeah, it's been pretty crazy to see. And that's kind of made it a little bit challenging to get out and play, and then also to get out and play and make videos too.
Right. What are some of your favorite courses in Atlanta?
Ooh, I mean, the private courses are pretty loaded. So East Lake is probably right up there with the top course that I've played in the area.
The Tour Championship,
Fortunately,
right?
exactly. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. They host a Tour Championship. That's right. And of course, the one year that I decided not to go was when Tiger won. So go figure.
No.
Yeah, go
No.
figure. I'm
Oh
like, you
my
know what? I've been
gosh.
to this. I've seen it a few times. It's always like 80, 88 degrees, and it's just like tough to just walk around all day trying
Right.
to fight for views and stuff. Like, it's not, like watching on TV. You're not really catching that much action on the course.
Oh
So of course I decided, let's take a year off, and then Tiger goes and does that. And I'm just like,
gosh.
oh, I was just like 10 miles away, just like, oh, how did I not like? How was I not there on 18 green? Like, it was just such an iconic moment.
Right. Oh, that was insane. I was fortunate to go when Jordan Spieth won
Nice.
East Lake. That was really cool. Yeah. At the time, I was working for the PGA Tour in Ponte Vedra, so we just drove
Oh,
up to
sick.
Atlanta real quick. The only
Oh,
course I
sick.
played in the area is TPC Sugarloaf. That course
Ooh,
is money. I
is it
love that
really?
course. Yes.
Is it really? Okay. Is that the course? Which plan? I don't think it's Kuchar. Stuart Sink. I mean, I think there's some playing professionals that might be members out there. I've heard some good things about that course.
Okay. They used to have an event up there, a PGA Tour event, I
Oh,
think.
really?
Yeah, I can't remember if it was PGA Tour or Champions Tour, but they used to play something up there. And yeah, it was just so. I'm in Houston.
Yeah.
It's so flat down here, and so if
Yeah.
ever I can get up to like a hill country, even in Austin, or one thing I loved about Sugarloaf was the hills, just like having the
Nice.
elevated shots. And when I don't get that down here, it's very hot, it's very humid, very flat. So whenever I can mix it up like that, it's always like I kind of feel giddy a little bit.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, so I'm not from Georgia. So when I first moved down here from Indiana, like, such a flat state, like
Mm,
Indiana, I mean, the golf is fine. But now that I'm kind of like more into golf, like when you're just like spending time scrolling on social media, like you're on Instagram, you're seeing pictures of Pasta Tiempo and like all of these like crazy courses all day, like it kind of just opens your mind as to like what golf can be outside of your own little box.
yeah,
And so kind of like living in that space makes you then like appreciate having access to nice courses, and it kind of raises your bar for like what's possible in a golf course. So like when I moved down to Georgia, just like the towering trees, the pine trees, the pine
mm,
straw, like everything kind of about, like you said,
so
a little
cool.
bit of the rolling hills. And I've seen that in Alabama too. Because I've driven over and played, Purcell Farms, and I've played at Robert Trenchum's trail course over there. And like, I posted a video actually on TikTok of me hitting this tee shot on a hole out in Alabama at a course called Ross Bridge. And I was like, I might have asked like, where is this course, or just some kind of question. And sure enough, like people were saying like number 10 at Augusta, number 10 at Augusta. That's how beautiful like
What?
this, yeah, like that's how beautiful the backdrop was,
Yeah.
that people like legitimately thought that I was playing at Augusta. Because
Wow.
Alabama, I mean, like Alabama is, man, like those courses are huge elevation change. They're so green, like everything's pristine. This was a public course too. Like I, actually paid like $75 to play this course. And so like just seeing like that, it just makes me appreciative of being in Georgia, having access like within 2 hour drive to a lot of courses in Alabama. So whenever I can, like I try to drive around and explore what's available out there. I'm kind of the guy that just likes to, change it up, see new courses, see new places. And then as far as like the private courses in Atlanta, there are so many great ones,
Hmm.
but it just, from my perspective, it doesn't like fit what I'm looking for right now. And also traffic is just, I don't know if Houston's the same way, but like traffic is a real thing. Like it just, if you're working in town and the best private courses are in suburbs about 35 minutes out, with rush hour, it's an hour. So it's just sort of like, do I really want to be paying this type of money if I'm going to get there maybe just on the weekends? And then I don't know, like I would love to live close to a course and be able to go play it all the time, use the practice facilities. Like private would be awesome. But in Atlanta, it's really tough because, like I said, like the best courses are usually a good, hour plus in rush hour traffic to get to.
Right. Yeah, I would say Houston, the best courses are more probably in the suburbs. For example, Champions, Jackie Burke Jr. still runs that club. Jackie Burke Jr. is the oldest living Masters champion. The guy is a hard-nosed son of a bitch, and he's probably like 94 years old and still runs his club, and he's out there every single day. They're hosting the U.S. Women's Open. Got moved to December during this whole thing.
Okay.
That's pretty cool. But most professional golfers, at least in this area, probably are in the DFW area. There's been a few here in Houston.
Gotcha.
I guess we have to claim Patrick Reed if we
Jeez.
have to. More Chris Stroud. We had Chris Stroud on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, so that was
nice.
Yeah, we'll take Chris Stroud. But yeah, most of the clubs actually in Houston city limits are very old, very expensive, like really hard to get into. More in the suburbs are your affordable country clubs, but it's hard to get even public courses here in town. You got to drive 45 minutes or 30 minutes just to go to pay $90 for a nice public course or something like that. It's wild.
Right. No, I feel you. Like it's the public-private type thing is tough, and then in these big cities where traffic can just get hot and heavy around rush hour, I mean, it's sort of like, dang, like, I mean, I could move out next to a golf course, but then I'm sucking it up for a commute every day. That's just terrible.
Right. Yeah. Like kind of pick your poison. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to ask you though, earlier you were talking about kind of like the direction of my channel, but as far as the podcast, I heard on the last episode, I believe it was, where you were talking about potentially applying for media passes and, going to a professional tournament. Where do you kind of see the direction of the pod?
Yeah, the direction of the pod. I was thinking a lot about that today, actually, because we started this podcast really just for fun. It was all three of us grew up playing junior golf together. Thomas and Kyle went to the same high school. I went to a different one, but we all had the same teacher, so that's how we got connected. And we all went away after college, but we happened to move back to Houston at the same time. So I feel like, at least for us, we're kind of at the crossroads. Like, all right, do we want to keep doing it, take it more seriously, dive a little more into it, or kind of take a step back? And we want to take a dive deeper into it. We want to keep creating golf content. In terms of the direction of the pod, some people that I really look up to are the foreplay guys, and also probably No Laying Up is the other.
Yeah, they're awesome.
They really were kind of my inspiration to get this thing going. I was like, man, they just seem like they have a lot of fun commentating on golf, just making golf more relatable, I think is a good word.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's kind of the direction I think of where we're going to go. We're going to try to get really good guests, people like yourself, whether it be on more YouTube golf or professional golfers. That's kind of the direction I think we want to go in, and just really tell people, no matter what your skill level is, if you're scratch players or if you're beginners, you can always get better, but just have fun out there. Just go play. Get out there and play. And at least on the YouTube side of things, I don't know what we're going to do. I got some ideas.
Yeah. That's a good question.
Yeah, I got some ideas. Like me and Kyle, we played in the South Texas 4-ball through the Texas Golf Association. So I took some videos. That's a little bit more of like formal competition.
Right.
Even though it is a 4-ball event, so it's a little more laid back, but, kind of doing like a recap of that. That was a few months ago, but got the time now to put that together. Or even just matches like us, as you mentioned, the dress round, do some outrageous bets and put it up on YouTube. I think that might be the direction that we go with. So, yeah,
I mean, I think you kind of have to just decide what angle you're going and kind of go hard in that direction. Mm-hmm. I've seen, Golficity, for an example. Are you familiar with Golficity guys?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So those guys, I believe they started out with the pod, and then after, I want to say like 100 episodes, I could be totally wrong, they were just like, hey, why don't we just kind of also be active on YouTube? We're trying to post our videos of our podcast on YouTube, but why don't we create original content as well? Because now we're getting opportunities to meet cool people in the golf space, to travel or whatever, to see nice courses. And so it kind of goes together. Like the podcast can become over time a YouTube channel with No Laying Up. I'm not sure exactly how they started out, but like I think of them now equally as a YouTube channel as I do a pod, because of some of the incredible travel series trips and all this stuff that they're putting out with cool drone footage and I mean professionally produced content.
Right.
But it might have just started from just having a conversation as friends, talking about golf, bringing on people, and then just kind of just consistency. At least with YouTube, it's consistency. It's like you can't give up. Like it's a matter of just like being stubborn in some sense, of just knowing like it's going to take a lot of uploads. It's going to take a lot of uploads to get access to certain type of opportunities or guests that can elevate the channel. And it's a matter of staying around until that timing hits. And then all of a sudden things can change. And it's like sticking around, being patient enough, and just being okay with the process and not expecting to just overnight, be invited to go and, travel to Scotland and stuff. Like it just doesn't happen quickly. But it's a matter of just like enjoying the process and then not giving up.
I totally agree. I love what No Laying Up has done with the Strap series.
Oh,
it's so good, so creative, professionally produced. So DJ Pajowski, I had a few run-ins with him back down in Ponte Vedra before he started working for No Laying Up. Yeah, I mean, he would probably have no idea who I am or not remember me, but because I worked in inside sales. I was the lowly inside sales rep, and the media department was right next to us. So we would always interact with a few of those guys, like Brian Wacker and DJ Pajowski and a few other guys.
Did you go play Sawgrass while you were down there?
Yes. I've gotten to play that course a few times. That course, it might be like one of the hardest courses I've ever played.
Really?
It was so cool. Yes.
It's just a dream course.
It really is. And 16, 17, and 18 it lives up to the hype. Because it's like, I've played it once since they redid it. Okay. And it's probably $500 now to play, or it's so expensive, and the course really beats you up until that point. It's very difficult, and I don't know if it's a $500 course, but then you get to the Island Green, you're like, okay, like I see it now. But yeah, to your point about the consistency, I couldn't agree more. I really do. It's definitely motivating for us, especially sometimes when we see channels that are like, oh, we've been posting videos for YouTube for 3 years and we just now hit that 1,000 subscriber mark, or we just now exploded. And so that's definitely motivating for me. It's like, hey, look, just make this part of your habit, your routine. And
exactly,
because you never know when that match is going to strike. And when the iron strikes, you want it to be hot.
Plus, I mean, it seems like you guys are all really good golfers too. So it's like you can relate to, the guys that are just out there talking a bunch of crap with their friends and, drinking and having fun. But like you also, if you needed to turn the switch and, produce some really good golf, some nice shots, like you have that capability as well. So having that potential, it's not like, if you guys were all, 10 to 15 handicaps, that would be fine. But it's like, oh, if you eventually wanted to kind of branch into some YouTube content, like being able to like play good golf it's just more attractive to watch on YouTube. So it's nice to know that you guys have that, in the toolkit if you need to pull it out.
Definitely, yeah. That's probably more of an advantage that we haven't really used yet. It's still one of our bows in our quiver if we need to on that, but. Yeah, it's really interesting. I don't know what the future holds for our channel. I'm excited about it though. Especially getting to know golfers like yourself. Like I love the idea of going to Alabama, doing some collab thing. And I mean, if ever you got that weekend set, like let us know so we can.
For sure, I definitely will reach out. No doubt.
If the other guys can't make it, maybe I can make it, or something. We'll send a rep. I don't know, but
absolutely. No, yeah. I mean, that's a good thing about this space is like. People are in it that kind of together, and genuinely, like if you're in the golf space, you're making a bunch of content. It's because like you love the game, and like most people that love the game, and also know how to have fun, not take it too seriously sometimes. Like it's the same, you're kind of, it's self-selection a little bit. Like you're making a golf podcast. Well, like, this other person that's making golf YouTube videos, like it's going to be fun to kind of get together and talk about golf, make good content and stuff. Like it's bringing together a lot of people who would otherwise really enjoy hanging out.
Right. And one thing that I realized recently, there are so many golf content creators, whether it be on a podcast side or on a YouTube side. One thing that's great about Foreplay No Laying Up is that I think players are more relaxed and willing to go on podcasts now.
That's true.
Than they were in the future, but also it's kind of hard to develop those relationships because once, like a Kevin Kisner, like he'll probably only go on Foreplay, and why wouldn't he? They've treated him great, and he treats them great. They have a really phenomenal relationship. So it's like players are willing to come on, but which ones are you? I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of start where you're at. I'm good friends with Dan from Leave the Pen podcast, and like he was talking on a recent podcast with, I believe he was talking to Andy Johnson from the Fried Egg.
Fried Egg, yeah. Oh, they're great too.
Incredible golf content. But
yes.
Dan was just saying, like, when he first started out his pod, it was just sort of, you start with where you're at and you talk to whoever you can talk to. And then through, what we talked about over time, it's just sort of, you kind of level up your game as you go along, as you stick around, as you make sure, you're nailing, you have to dot your I's and cross your T's in terms of making sure like the quality is good and you keep learning and growing in the process of it. But then it just kind of scales up a little bit. And the thing about golf content space is like, once you get to a certain level, I don't know what that is. It probably varies depending on the platform. Like if you can break through a certain level, it's like you're rolling downhill. Like, you're putting in so much work to get to a point of visibility. And then once you reach a certain level, it's just sort of like, oh, now it's easy. Like now I can, talk to so-and-so. Now I can make a video at this place. And now that I can do that, it's going to in turn lead to more downloads, subscribes, whatever, which then opens the door for more opportunities. So it's just a matter of kind of like sticking with it. And then, like we talked about, like waiting until that time comes. And then, hopefully at that point, it's just sort of like the hard work pays off. It's not like you stop working hard, but it's like, oh, now I don't have to try so hard. It's like, I can just have fun. And
work smarter, not harder.
Yeah, exactly. Work smarter, not harder. The access to better opportunities is there, which then elevates the brand and the visibility. And then it's like a cycle. It's like a crazy cycle that you see.
Right. Was it weird? You used to mention whenever you play, like you just got the camera rolling. Is it just your iPhone that you're using?
Yeah, right now. So I have an iPhone 11 Pro.
Okay.
So I upgraded from an iPhone 8. So now I have an 8 and I kept my old iPhone and an 11. So I can shoot the double camera angles if I need to. And then I do all my editing. Like having everything on the phone just makes it easy to post on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, whatever. Yeah. So that's where I am right now. And I know a lot of people are upgrading and getting drones and such crazy expensive Canons and things. And I'm like, I need to kind of like work through where I'm at now before trying to like invest into something bigger. Hopefully at some point, I would, try to scale up and add to the arsenal of equipment, but it's like all in a matter of time.
Is it weird? You mentioned that you're just always filming because you never know when somebody's going to hole out, capture a moment. Was it weird at first getting in the habit of always trying to film shots or other people's shots?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I've always kind of enjoyed like capturing moments, like just videography generally. Like, so even before I had a social media channel to post content to, I would still, when I'm out with my buddies, like pull out Snapchat and try to get a video of them teeing off and like hope to catch something funny or something. Right. So I was still kind of like thinking about that even before I had the page, which made sense that I started the page then because I kind of have an eye for it or like an enjoyment of doing it. But obviously it's a balance. Like it's not always easy. You have to keep pace of play. I played in a couple like quasi tournaments, like they're like amateur tournaments. Okay. And so I'll be balancing like we're competing in a 2-man event and we're playing alternate shot or something. And like, every shot counts, and then Dougie's there like tinkering with the tripod and like getting all the angles right, like trying to do that while like like people are like it's actually like a stroke play tournament. It's like a little bit of a tricky back and forth teeter totter, and there's no perfect way to balance that. You just have to be as quick as you can recording the content and be respectful and courteous, and just know that sometimes you got to put the camera away and just play. But
Yeah.
I enjoy like having the camera out generally because it just gives you more options later. You're scrolling through your phone and it's like, boom, there's a gold video that I could post on Twitter.
Definitely. Dougie, this has been awesome. This has really been a lot of fun.
It's been great.
You're halfway to that magical 1,000 subscriber mark, or pretty close to it, it seems like. And in about a year, that's fantastic. And I think you're going to hit it soon. Really good. For our listenership, go on YouTube. Go check out Dougie's channel. It's a lot of fun. It really is. Some rapid fire questions, though, and then we'll get out of here.
Hit me.
What's your favorite club in the bag?
Say my lob wedge.
Lob wedge. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. I don't hear many of the lob wedge. That's like almost public enemy number one for some people, especially for Frankie Borelli over at Foreplay, it sounds like.
Exactly. So. Butter knife. No, I like to catch a nippy and spin it back. It's fun.
Okay. What kind of golf balls do you use?
I'd say a mixed bag, man. Like I'm playing a Bridgestone on one hole, a Nike on the next, a Titleist, and then a Strixon that I found. So I don't really have one ball, kind of just a mixed bag.
Okay. Favorite course that you've ever played?
I'd say East Lake. We talked about it. It's just
East Lake.
Absolutely incredible.
Man, that place is pretty special, huh? Just
incredible.
With the Bobby Jones history. So I recently read, real quick, the Mark Frost Bobby Jones book.
Oh, wow.
And that was phenomenal. The same guy who wrote Greatest Game Ever Played.
Okay.
And it just talks about, because there's a lot of East Lake history in there about, because that's where he learned to play and whatnot. So if you got some time, I would definitely recommend to anybody.
Okay.
To read
I love that.
one.
Bobby Jones is incredible.
Yes. Gosh, so underrated, I think. So favorite course that you would like to play next? Like if you can play one course, what's that one course?
I mean, right now, top of mind is Arcadia Bluffs.
Okay. Where's that at?
Yeah. That's in Michigan. So it's on Lake Michigan. And I think it's probably like a top 30 to top 50 course nationally. And for me, just being from Indiana, I actually have a lake house in Michigan that I've been to. So I've driven kind of past or near where the course is. And then now that I'm like into golf, it's just sort of like, oh my gosh, like I got to make a trip there. I love Michigan and Lake Michigan.
Michigan. Okay. Do you have any superstitions on the course?
Honestly, because I record a lot of content, I watch it. And so I pick up on some of my idiosyncrasies. It's kind of weird to see. Mm-hmm. But I actually, like, before I hit the ball, I do like a squeezing of the grip. It sounds kind of crazy, but like you hold
the club right here?
Like everyone has a cue to start to swing. And I guess mine, it's a re-grip. So I'm ready to swing, and then all of a sudden I loosen and tighten, and then I go. I don't know why I do it. I don't think about it, but it just happens.
Well, that's better than the Matthew Wolf trigger that is out there before he goes. So.
That's true. It's better than that.
Exactly. So who wins the match this weekend? Tiger or Phil?
Tiger and Peyton.
Tiger and Peyton,
I'm from Indianapolis, so I'm Team Peyton, the sheriff, all day. And then between Tiger and Phil, you can't go wrong. But I've always been a Tiger guy, so for me it's just like easy. They made it easy for me, Tiger and Peyton.
All right, awesome, Dougie. This has been a blast. It really has. Where can our audience follow you on YouTube, social media platforms? Where can they keep up with your golf content?
Yeah, so thanks so much for having me on. This has been a blast. You can follow me on YouTube at Dougie Barnard, Instagram at Dougie Barnard. I also run a separate account called the Golf Clan, more of a community-based vibe. Twitter at Dougie Barnard as well. So yeah, I would love to connect with you on any of those platforms.
Fantastic. Dougie, I would say you're probably really the first YouTube golfer that has reached out to us outside of the Bogey Brothers. They reach out to us and we're right there. And so thank you for making us feel welcome to the online golf community. And man, I'm excited to see where both our channels go. YouTube, podcast, anything in between. So I think the future is looking good.
I think it'd be fun for me to be able to record a video with, you on the golf course. I mean, +1, like that'd be some really good golf right there.
Yeah, we can figure it out. I might need to practice a little bit.
No expectations, no pressure.
So yeah, me and Kyle were both about a +1. Thomas, the other host, he's probably about a 3 or 4 handicap.
Solid golf.
And me and Kyle, we like to play a lot of four-man scramble teams together. We have a group that we usually do, and it's because like we both drive the ball pretty good, but he's a way better iron player than I am, and I'm a way better putter than he is. So I feel like our games kind of complement a little bit. Yeah, if I don't hit many greens, it's all about the short game for me. And Kyle's always like, hey, I need to hit as close as I can because he can't really make putts too often. So
you're dangerous in a scramble is what you're saying.
We've been known to shoot some pretty well, we generally win some if people don't pencil whip us.
Oh, that's the worst.
That's been a problem recently. That's actually kind of gotten under my skin. Yeah, like some guys said they shot 48 on a 4-man scramble. 48 straight up.
Are you kidding me?
Like, that doesn't make sense.
That's impossible.
That's impossible. One guy said he got a hole-in-one, but that hole was playing like 225 into the wind. Like, come on, get out of here. Get out of here. I get worked up when I think about it.
Yeah, that's not right. That's not even, you got to be upset about that. Something funny's going on.
Yeah, but I got to sharpen my game up a little bit. It's because if you ask me to hit it fade, it doesn't fade most of the time right now. So we gotta work on that. But yeah, let us know about Alabama. That sounds like fun.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time. This has been awesome.
Hey, thanks, Dougie. Appreciate it.
All right. See ya.